With the conclusion of WWE Clash at the Castle, many were expecting to see Drew McIntyre being crowned as the new king, only to be met with a lot of disappointment when they saw Roman Reigns still standing as champion, leaving many fans to wonder whatever happened to the Scottish Warrior. And so, without further ado, here are 7 reasons why WWE might not have pushed Drew McIntyre at Clash of the Castle. First, let's remember it doesn't matter who's in charge, this is still very much the Roman Reigns show. And even if you feel like a change in creative should also mean a change in creative direction, allow me to point out that after a 2-year-long title run, that is a lot of equity that you have built into one storyline. And bailing on this right away just because there is a new head of creative isn't necessarily the best use of this plot. WWE has invested a lot in the past 2 years in Roman's reign, and so when it comes time to crown a new champion, it's best to do it at the right time, which quite frankly should be at a WrestleMania, which this pay-per-view was not. So while the sun may never set on the British Empire, it would appear that Romans is still going to live to see another day. Going beyond Roman Reigns' time as champion, let's look to that of Drew McIntyre's, which really wasn't all that long ago. Sure, while he did hold the title during, well, not the best of times, it still doesn't change that he most recently held the belt just about a year and a half ago in February of 2021, and that was his second run with the belt. And sure, there are some wrestlers out there who have had WWE title reigns within close proximity to each other, including Drew himself, who had the title twice within a short amount of time. Let's remember that this is somewhat of a rarity, and if Drew had won it, he would have become a 3-time WWE champion within 3 years, something that not a lot of people can claim. And so while it wouldn't be unprecedented, do realize that it is quite unusual, and if Drew is gonna score that hat trick, well, it might just take a little while longer. Now, doubling back to Roman, but still staying on the topic of Drew's title reign, let's ask, how successful was this? While fans may like Drew McIntyre a lot, and he might be extremely over, especially with the Cardiff crowd, the question is, what does over really mean, and can I spend it? Because as WWE is a publicly traded company, with the bottom line always in sight, we have to ask, how much does Drew McIntyre really make? With Roman Reigns, even as a heel, outdrawing the Scottish Warrior by a long shot in terms of merchandise sales, with Drew not even making the top 10 last year. And while 62,000 in attendance for Clash at the Castle is quite an impressive number, let's remember that each night of WrestleMania individually topped that. And sure, that is WrestleMania, but let's also keep in mind that 1992 SummerSlam, which was in the UK, also beat this number. And so, while it is impressive, it might not be large enough to justify putting the belt on Drew. Furthermore, when Drew was champion, let's also remember that his ratings for television really weren't all that great, despite having no outside competition from new content or any other live sport. And sure, there are a lot of other contributing factors, and it's not fair to put everything on McIntyre, but at the same hand, if you're a big business like WWE, you tend to not care about any excuses, you just care about your money. Staying with the Cardiff crowd, it's also important to bring up how important exactly is the European and the United Kingdom market for WWE. Even despite having an amazing fan base over there, WWE has still decided to close down their NXT UK division, and instead transform that to becoming NXT Europe. But even before this, WWE has never prioritized the UK or Europe in general, with them rarely having pay-per-views there, and almost never having any champions who hail from the British Isles. And so, even though the United Kingdom fandom is something that should be appreciated and cherished, WWE has never given any indication that they feel the same way. Another reason why Drew McIntyre might not have won the WWE Undisputed Championship at Clash of the Castle might just be because, well, he was never supposed to. Eager fans were overblowing every little detail about this feud, thinking everything could possibly be an indication that WWE was going to put both belts around his waist, even though in reality Drew McIntyre was just another contender, same as Finn Balor, same as Brock Lesnar, same as Cesaro. He was just another link in the chain and nothing more. It's just too bad that some fans worked themselves into a shoot by believing that Drew McIntyre was destined to win and getting upset when he didn't. Now, while it might not be Drew McIntyre's destiny to dethrone Roman, it has to be someone else's. And there have been plenty of rumors for quite some time that Roman would be squaring off against The Rock at WrestleMania Hollywood. Now sure, this doesn't mean that this match is definitely going to happen, and it also doesn't mean that The Rock is going to be the one to take the belt off of Roman. And while this belt doesn't have to be for the championship, it does seem like the best possible scenario, with both men going one-on-one at WrestleMania. And if this is the case, then there's no way that Drew could have taken the belt off of Roman before this match in Hollywood could happen. Okay, now while The Rock might not be the one to take the belt off of Roman Reigns, there are a lot of people out there who really feel like Cody Rhodes is going to be the one to do it instead. Not only did Cody cut that really passionate promo upon his return about trying to win that belt, but also the American Nightmare has so much momentum going for him, even though he's injured. Now of course, Cody might not even get the title opportunity, and if he does, he might just wind up being yet another contender to the throne who ends up discarded in the pile along with the rest of them. But there are also those out there who really feel like the story of the tribal chief, the head of the table, the provider of the family, might just come crashing down thanks to someone else with famous wrestling kin. After all, wrestling does have more than one royal family. Hopefully Drew McIntyre can turn it all around. Just because he wasn't king at the castle doesn't mean that there aren't going to be more opportunities for him down the line. And even if he never wins another championship in WWE, we're always going to remember him as the champion that got us through some rough times, and he still has an amazing career that no one can take away from him. Plus, let's not forget that he sent us all home singing.